The government's touting tax reform, but critics say it's little more than a talk fest. Tomorrow's tax forum kicks off in Canberra. State and territory governments will join business leaders and unions there, filing their wish lists as the federal government tackles the budget deficit. Here's Saul Eslake from the Grattan Institute.
Well, I think we can expect a wide-ranging discussion across business, personal, environmental and state taxes. Some of the discussion will be on things about which the government's already made up its mind, such as proposals to increase the rate or broaden the base of GST, and perhaps some of the loopholes that many of those attending the forum would like to see closed in the income tax system. But there'll also be discussion about things the government has flagged, such as proposals to allow loss-making companies to get refunds of company tax they've previously paid. So it'll be a mixture of things that might conceivably make a difference to tax policy and things that won't make any difference at all.
One proposal is to see superannuation payments taxed as income. Should retirees be concerned?
Well, they might be worried about that prospect, although speaking personally, I think the tax treatment of superannuation is too generous, particularly for upper income earners. I don't think there ever was a legitimate public policy rationale for allowing people over the age of 60 to receive income from superannuation funds completely free of tax. And I think you could still leave those on upper incomes encouraged to contribute to superannuation if the concessions they get were less generous than they currently are. But having said that, the government's made it perfectly clear that it's not planning to make any changes to the tax treatment of superannuation, and hence, while the subject may well come up, it's not going to influence anything the government subsequently does.
You said yourself that the government has already made up its mind on some of these issues. Is this simply a talk fest?
Oh, to some extent it is, but that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. I've no doubt that the issues that are raised in this week's tax forum will be raised in ways that will generate further discussion down the track.
Looking to tomorrow's Reserve Bank meeting, what's your tip on interest rates?
My tip is that there'll be no change in interest rates, although the case for raising rates is a lot weaker than it was last month and the months before that, and the case for cutting rates is growing stronger. I think the Reserve Bank is likely to make the judgment that there's no compelling case for moving rates in either direction at the moment. They'll probably want to wait and see how developments in Europe and the United States pan out. They would be ready, if either country does go into a serious recession in a way that adversely influences the outlook for the Australian economy, to cut rates as they did during the global financial crisis. But if the US and Europe avoid recession, and if growth in China continues to be strong, then although I don't think they will move interest rates anytime soon on that scenario, it still leaves open what I think is the greater likelihood over the medium term that the next movement in rates will eventually be up, but not anytime soon.
Saul Eslake in Melbourne, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.